Hi, fourth semester students. This is going to be the second session of the Principles of India's Foreign Policy. I'm going to begin um, right after where we left yesterday, and few of the topics, few of the principles that I'm going to teach in these sessions are ethical and foreign policy, moral leadership, non-alignment and strategic autonomy, peace with strength, the concept of Dharmayuddha, adaptability within ethical limits ꯀꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯔꯤꯁꯦ ꯉꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯁꯦꯁꯟꯁꯤꯗ ꯅꯩꯅꯒꯅꯤ. So without further ado, ꯍꯧꯔꯁꯤꯀꯣ. Ethical foreign policy and moral leadership ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯅꯤ. India has consistently attempted to pursue a value-laden ethical foreign policy rather than seeking dominance or territorial expansion. India's goal has been to contribute to a just and equitable global order. The document notes that India takes pride in following ethics in international conduct and hopes that such behavior will encourage moral transformation at the global level. ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ foreign policy ꯁꯦꯝꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ always values ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ethics ꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯅꯣꯔꯝꯁꯤꯡꯁꯦ ꯉꯥꯛꯑꯒ always ꯆꯠꯂꯦꯕ. ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ country ꯑꯇꯣꯞꯄ ꯑꯃꯠꯇꯗ even if it's small states comparatively ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ dominate ꯇꯧꯅꯕ ꯍꯣꯠꯅꯗꯦ. Territorial expansionꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯁꯨꯡꯇꯧ ꯇꯧꯗꯦ. ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ foreign policyꯗ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ foreign policyꯗ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ territorial expansionꯒꯤ values ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯒ ꯑꯗꯣ ꯅꯥꯀꯟꯂꯣꯝꯗ position ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯇꯧꯕ foreign policy ꯂꯩꯇꯦ. ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ dominanceꯁꯨ ꯇꯧꯗꯦ. ꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯒꯣꯜꯗꯤ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ global orderꯁꯤꯗ equitable ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ just ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯑꯃ ꯁꯦꯝꯕꯗꯨꯅꯦꯕ. ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ justice ꯂꯩꯕ like terrorismꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯑꯝꯇ ꯂꯩꯇꯕ accountable ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯄꯨꯝꯅꯃꯛ ꯄꯨꯟꯅ ꯆꯥꯎꯈꯠꯃꯤꯟꯅꯕ countries ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛ ꯄꯨꯟꯅ ꯆꯥꯎꯈꯠꯃꯤꯟꯅꯕ ꯄꯨꯟꯅ justice ꯐꯪꯃꯤꯟꯅꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ global order ꯑꯃꯈꯛ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ strive ꯇꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ foreign policyꯗꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯈꯇꯪ aspire ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯁꯦꯝꯃꯦꯕ. ꯑꯗꯒꯤꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ foreign policy ꯀꯣ conduct ꯇꯧꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ international forumsꯤꯡꯗ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯑꯇꯣꯞꯄ countryꯁꯤꯡꯒ relations ꯁꯦꯝꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯀꯣ always ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ethical code ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ cultural values ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯁꯤꯅ always ꯎꯝꯃꯒ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ direct ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯆꯠꯂꯦ. ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯊꯤꯕꯤꯒꯤ ꯂꯦꯚꯦꯜꯗ international levelꯗ moral transformation ꯑꯃꯈꯛ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯀꯣ ꯇꯧꯅꯕ ꯍꯣꯠꯅꯩ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯨꯅꯕꯨ for example ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ yoga ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯌꯣꯒꯁꯦ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯊꯤꯕꯤꯗ introduce ꯇꯧꯕ ꯍꯧꯈꯤꯕꯅꯤ 2014ꯗ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯝꯗꯧ ꯃꯥꯜꯂꯦ. ꯑꯗꯣ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ international yoga dayꯒ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯁꯦ it's also a moral, cultural as well as physical ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ tangible intangible ꯑꯣꯏꯕ contribution ꯑꯃꯈꯛꯅꯦꯕ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ moral ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ethical ꯑꯣꯏꯕ world ꯑꯃꯈꯛ ꯁꯦꯝꯕ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ contribution steps ꯑꯃꯈꯛꯅꯦꯕ. ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ. However, the sources also acknowledge that the international system is characterized by competing interests and power rivalries. Consequently, that India has adapted its policies to changing global realities without abandoning its ethical foundations. ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯀꯣ. ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯛꯄꯨ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ethical, moral ꯑꯣꯏꯕ foreign policy ꯁꯦꯝꯃꯤ, justice, equitable global order ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯁꯨ international systemꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗꯗꯤ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ national interestꯀꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯍꯦꯟꯅ ꯈꯟꯅꯕꯅ ꯃꯔꯝ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ competitive ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ interestꯁꯤꯡꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ competitive ꯑꯣꯏꯕ structure ꯑꯃꯈꯛ ꯂꯩꯌꯦꯕꯀꯣ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ power rivalries ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯂꯩ. power rivalries ꯗꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯂꯩꯀꯣ. ꯀꯩꯒꯨꯝꯕ region ꯑꯃꯈꯛꯇ region ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯤ international region ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ. South Asia ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯁꯤ South Asian region ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯒꯤ Indo Pacific ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯖꯄꯥꯟ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯃꯦꯔꯤꯀꯥ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯑꯁꯇ꯭ꯔꯦꯂꯤꯌꯥ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯁꯥꯎꯠ ꯏꯁ ꯆꯥꯏꯅꯥꯒꯤ ꯃꯈꯥꯗ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯐꯤꯂꯤꯄꯤꯟꯁꯀꯤ ꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯅꯦꯁꯟꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯁ꯭ꯋꯥꯏꯁꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯣ ꯄꯦꯁꯤꯐꯤc ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯅ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯏꯟꯇꯔꯅꯦꯁꯅꯦꯜ ꯔꯤꯖꯟ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯏꯟꯇꯔꯅꯦꯁꯅꯦꯜ ꯔꯤꯖꯟꯁꯤꯗ ꯑꯣꯜꯋꯦꯁ ꯄꯋꯔ ꯄ꯭ꯂꯦ ꯂꯩ ꯄꯋꯔ ꯔꯥꯏꯕꯜꯔꯤꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯩꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕꯒꯤ ꯃꯇꯥꯡ ꯂꯥꯛꯑꯒꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯑꯦꯗꯥꯞ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯀꯣ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ sovereignty ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯄꯋꯔ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯦꯇꯁ ꯃꯦꯟꯇꯦꯟ ꯇꯧꯒꯅꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯗꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯣꯔꯦꯜ ꯚꯦꯂ꯭ꯌꯨꯁ ꯑꯦꯊꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯀꯣꯗꯁꯤꯡꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯑꯦꯗꯥꯞꯇꯦꯕꯤꯂꯤꯇꯤꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯇꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯑꯦꯗꯥꯞꯇꯦꯁꯟꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯇꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯂꯥꯏꯛ ꯑꯦꯊꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯐꯥꯎꯟꯗꯦꯁꯟꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯚꯦꯂ꯭ꯌꯨꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯗꯣꯝꯗ ꯐꯣꯀꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯤꯉꯩꯗ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯄꯋꯔ ꯔꯤꯌꯦꯂꯤꯇꯤꯁ ꯀꯣ ꯄꯋꯔ ꯔꯥꯏꯕꯜꯔꯤꯁ ꯂꯥꯛꯄ ꯑꯗꯒꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯄꯋꯔꯒꯤ ꯏꯟꯇꯔꯦꯁꯀꯤ ꯀꯝꯄꯤꯇꯤꯁꯟ ꯂꯥꯛꯄ ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯑꯥꯏ ꯆꯠꯂꯒ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯗꯤ ꯃꯣꯔꯦꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯕꯅꯤ ꯑꯦꯊꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯕ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤ ꯁꯦꯝꯃꯤꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯌꯥꯗꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯣ this is a hard lesson that the countries has learned from the foreign policies that Nehru as a prime minister and the first foreign minister of this country uh, adopted ꯀꯣ ꯅꯦꯍꯔꯨꯅ ꯑꯦꯗꯣꯞ ꯇꯧꯔꯝꯕ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤꯗꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯃꯇꯨꯡ ꯏꯟꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯂꯔꯟ ꯇꯧꯍꯧꯕ ꯍꯥꯔꯠ ꯂꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯃꯈꯛꯅꯦ ꯃꯗꯨꯗꯤ we can't be just normatively ethical in our foreign policies and optimistic. We can't stick to the sole approach of idealism in making foreign policy because as it was in the past, China has invaded and taken some part of Jammu and Kashmir in the north of the country, and also Pakistan has invaded in the uh, northwestern flank of the country, and it has occupied some portions. In China, there is China occupied territories and Pakistan occupied territories. These are the sole examples and hard truth that India cannot follow just the idealistic foreign policy approach, but also we have to stick to the ground realities and adapt accordingly, according to the challenges that the countries and the world is facing. With that said, we cannot compromise on the ethical, moral aspects and the cultural values that this country has to offer. ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ethical foreign policies ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕꯁꯦ India as a country has always strived to make its foreign policy value laden with ethical and moral structures. Just as the cultural and moral ethical richness of these countries, of these ancient countries, is the foreign policies also tend to utilize these cultures and relations, ethical codes that it has learned from ages, from many monumental epics into its foreign policies. And right now, these are being used as a soft power to negotiate, to connect with other countries, as well as its people, and trying to negotiate the national interests of this country, as well as other uh, relating under other relating countries in this context that I'm talking about, and they try to foster the relations as well as the betterment of both the countries in a win-win situation. ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯤ ꯇꯧꯔꯤꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯥꯏꯗ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯇꯧꯔꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯥꯏꯗ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯇꯧꯔꯁꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯃꯊꯪꯗ non alignment and strategic autonomy ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯅꯤꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤꯗ ꯈ꯭ꯋꯥꯏꯗꯒꯤ ꯑꯆꯧꯕ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯕ꯭ꯌꯨꯁꯟꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟꯁꯤꯁꯨꯅꯦꯕ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤꯗ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯕ꯭ꯌꯨꯁꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯁꯤ ꯀꯩꯒꯤꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤꯗꯤ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟꯅꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯁꯤ ꯑꯦꯗꯣꯞ ꯇꯧꯕꯅ ꯃꯔꯝ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗꯁꯨ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯃꯨꯞꯃꯦꯟ ꯑꯅ ꯀꯣ ꯊꯔꯠ ꯋꯥꯔꯜ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁꯤꯡꯒꯤ ꯃꯨꯞꯃꯦꯟ ꯑꯃꯈꯛ ꯃꯥꯅ ꯂꯨꯆꯤꯡꯉꯒ ꯍꯧꯗꯣꯛꯈꯤꯕ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯃꯇꯨꯡ ꯏꯟꯅ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔꯒꯤ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ right after the end of the second world war ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔꯒꯤ ꯋꯥꯔꯜ ꯑꯣꯔꯗꯔ ꯑꯗꯨꯗ ꯒ꯭ꯂꯣꯕal ꯁꯨꯄꯔ ꯄꯥꯋꯔꯒꯤ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯣꯛ ꯑꯅꯤꯃꯛꯇ ꯑꯃꯠꯇ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯗꯕꯤꯗ ꯃꯤꯆꯪ ꯑꯃꯠꯇ ꯑꯣꯏꯗꯕꯤꯗ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯀꯅꯥꯝꯇ ꯑꯦꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯗꯕꯤꯗ ꯂꯩꯕꯒꯤ ꯃꯨꯞꯃꯦꯟ ꯑꯃꯈꯛ ꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯂꯨꯆꯤꯡꯉꯒ ꯇꯧꯈꯤꯕꯅꯤꯅ this is also one of the greatest contribution and also one of the monumental values that India inculcates in its India's foreign policy ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯦ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯥꯟꯁꯁꯦ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟꯇꯗꯤ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯁꯨ non alignment is still relevant and India is non aligned to any other particular countries as we speak. How can we explain that? ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ India sometimes negotiated based on its interests with United States of America and Western countries, or conglomeration of Western countries like European Union, like regional organizations. And currently, two major trade deals has been significantly conducted, achieved between European Union and India, and the United States and India later. And with that said, India doesn't disassociate with any Eastern Bloc countries. When I say Eastern Bloc countries, I'm just trying to refer to the groups which USSR, the then USSR, now it's Russia, China, uh, majorly these two countries. India negotiated and associated with Russia most for most of its import in terms of defense and other related other allied sectors and other allied um, articles. And when the news is all about the interactions and trade deals between the West and this country, we should not be blinded by the news to say or interpret that India is dissociating from the East, that is Russia. India is conducting dealings with both the blocs as we speak. So India is still a non-aligned nation trying to cope and trying to uh, make these countries into the into a progress of progressing into its vision of becoming a developed country by taking help from both the West and the East. So in this way, we can say and we can understand in a nuantical way that that doesn't align still in any other countries. But with that said, from time to time, India flexed its position in the form of tilting towards the east or tilting towards the west in certain and many circumstances. That is how the adaptation of foreign policies of India based on its national interest and its people is concerned. ꯀꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯁꯨ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯌꯦꯕ ꯏꯚꯟ ꯏꯐ ꯏꯠꯁ ꯑ ꯄꯣꯁ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯏꯔꯥ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯁꯦ ꯄꯣꯁ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯃꯇꯝꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯒꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯩ ꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯃꯨꯞꯃꯦꯟ ꯍꯧꯗꯣꯔꯛꯈꯤꯕꯁꯦ ꯃꯔꯨꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯏꯁ ꯑ ꯄꯥꯏꯅꯤꯌꯔ ꯂꯤꯗꯤꯡ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁ ꯑꯣꯐ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯃꯨꯞꯃꯦꯟ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ we have already established, we have already understood quite quite clearly I guess. ꯑꯗꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯝꯃꯤꯗꯣ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯣꯛ ꯑꯅꯤꯒꯤ ꯋꯥꯔꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯇꯨꯒꯤ ꯃꯇꯨꯡꯗ ꯂꯩꯔꯝꯕ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯣꯛ ꯑꯅꯤꯒꯤ ꯅꯦꯁꯟꯁꯤꯡꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯛꯇ ꯑꯃꯠꯇꯗ ꯑꯦꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯗꯅꯕꯒꯤ ꯃꯥꯁꯦ ꯑꯅꯤꯃꯛꯇꯒꯤ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛ ꯃꯇꯦꯡ ꯂꯧꯔꯒ ꯆꯥꯎꯈꯠꯅꯕ ꯍꯣꯠꯅꯔꯛꯄꯗ ꯍꯦꯟꯅ ꯃꯥꯏ ꯑꯣꯟꯁꯤꯟꯅꯕꯒꯤ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯄꯥꯋꯔ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯇꯤꯛꯁꯇ ꯆꯪꯗꯅꯕꯒꯤ ꯇꯧꯈꯤꯕꯅꯤꯗꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯇꯤ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯊꯤꯕꯤꯁꯤ ꯆꯦꯟꯖ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯑꯦ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯂꯣꯏꯈ꯭ꯔꯦ there is only one super power right now ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ but it's the power is diffusing, okay, as we speak, but I'm talking about 19th, um, late 20th century, like 1990s till 2020s. I can say roughly I can mark till 2020s, but 2015 is going to be the better year when I range it from 1990s to 2020, 2015, it's going to be speaking louder in terms of its significance that this is the period of unipolar world when United States is the sole superpower. Well, but after 2015 and until now, I think it's becoming more um, multipolar in the sense that China is becoming a major superpower in defense as well as in finance, in economy, as much as India is. Okay. And so the United States cannot flex its arm like it used to prior to 2015 and after post 1990s, but prior to 2015. 그러니까 ꯑꯩꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯦ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅꯅꯤꯗ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯦ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯊꯤꯕꯤꯁꯦ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯣꯛ ꯑꯅꯤ ꯊꯣꯛꯅ ꯈꯥꯏꯗꯣꯔꯝꯃꯦ ꯁꯦꯀꯦꯟ ꯋꯥꯔꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯃꯇꯨꯡꯗ we are just simplifying steps to let you clearly understand and grasp the concepts easily ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯈꯥꯏꯗꯣꯔꯛꯑꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯃꯤꯆꯪ ꯑꯃꯠꯇ ꯀꯅꯥꯝꯇ ꯂꯩꯇ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯈꯛꯇ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯃꯤꯆꯪ ꯀꯅꯥꯝꯇ ꯂꯩꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁꯦ ꯊꯥꯔꯠ ꯋꯥꯔꯜ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯃꯤꯆꯪꯗ ꯂꯩꯇꯦꯀꯣ ꯐꯣꯔ ꯑꯦꯛꯖꯥꯝꯄꯜ like Cuba ꯀꯣ ꯃꯦꯛꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯀꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯂꯝ ꯈꯔꯗꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯂꯝ ꯌꯥꯝꯃꯤ 184 countries 142 countries ꯃꯨꯛ ꯑꯣꯏꯕꯅꯤꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯂꯩꯕꯁꯦ ꯃꯆꯥ ꯃꯆꯥ countries ꯃꯆꯥ ꯃꯆꯥ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯐ꯭ꯔꯤꯀꯟ countries ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯦ ꯁꯥꯎꯠ ꯑꯐ꯭ꯔꯤꯀꯥ ꯐꯣꯔ ꯑꯦꯛꯖꯥꯝꯄꯜ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ countries ꯃꯆꯥ ꯃꯆꯥ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯌꯥꯎꯋꯦꯀꯣ ꯁꯤ ꯑꯦꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯗꯕꯤꯗ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯑꯅꯤꯃꯛꯇꯒꯤ ꯗꯤꯄꯦꯟ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯤ ꯔꯁꯤꯌꯥꯅ USSRꯅ ꯂꯤꯠ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯨ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯣꯛꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯒꯤ USꯅ ꯂꯤꯠ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯕ꯭ꯂꯣꯛꯁꯨ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛꯇꯒꯤ ꯗꯤꯄꯦꯟ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯆꯥꯎꯈꯠꯅꯕ ꯍꯣꯠꯅꯖꯕ but not aligned to any groups ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯄꯣꯠꯇꯨꯅꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟꯁꯦ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯥꯛꯏ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯄꯣꯁ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯤ 1990ꯁꯇ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ 1991ꯗ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯂꯣꯏꯔꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ USSR kaire. USSR disintegrated the country, which was known as USSR is disintegrated into various Eastern European as well as Eastern Asian countries like Russia, ko Russia is the major origin. Russia, ko the Serbia is part of Russia. Russia, the Ukraine, ko the ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ East Asia, East Europe, Eastern Europe countries ꯈꯔ ꯀꯣ Czechoslovakia ꯀꯥꯏꯅ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ countries ꯈꯔ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ countries ꯈꯔ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ countries ꯈꯔ ꯈꯛꯇ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯅ ꯈꯥꯏꯗꯣꯛꯈꯤꯅ ꯎꯁꯕꯦꯀꯤꯁꯇꯥꯟ ꯇꯥꯖꯤꯀꯤꯁꯇꯥꯟꯒ ꯍꯥꯏꯖꯔ USSRꯒꯤ ꯁꯔꯨꯛ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯝꯃꯤꯅꯤꯀꯣ ꯁꯤ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯕ country ꯑꯣꯏꯅ disintegrate ꯇꯧꯈ꯭ꯔꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ Cold War ꯑꯣꯏꯈ꯭ꯔꯦꯕ US is the sole superpower was the sole superpower since 1990s ꯀꯣ US ꯈꯛꯇ ꯉꯥꯏꯔꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯨꯅ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯊꯤꯕꯤꯁꯦ Cold War ꯂꯣꯏꯔꯦ ꯀꯣ USꯅ ꯂꯤꯠ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯔꯦ USꯅ ꯁꯨꯄꯔ ꯄꯥꯋꯔ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯔꯦ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯦꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯇꯧꯋꯦꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯤ US ꯈꯛꯇ ꯉꯥꯏꯍꯧꯔꯦꯅ USꯇ ꯆꯤꯟꯁꯤꯟꯕꯤ ꯇꯧꯗꯦꯕ but few countries many countries ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ US ꯈꯛꯇ ꯉꯥꯏꯍꯧꯔꯕꯅꯤꯅ USꯇꯒ ꯑꯦꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯈꯤꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯩꯀꯣ but ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ just stood non aligned ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯣ still ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯁꯨ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ Russiaꯁꯨ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯀꯥꯏꯈ꯭ꯔꯕ ꯃꯇꯨꯡꯗ ꯍꯦꯟꯒꯠꯂꯛꯑꯦ ꯀꯣ Russia is no longer a solely communist state it's a socialist state ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ socialist state with liberal policies and globalization related policies intact ꯑꯗꯨꯅ solely communist countries ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯌꯥꯗ꯭ꯔꯦ but it's a socialist countries ꯅꯤ more it's a social liberal countries but more tilted towards socialism or communism ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ dictatorship lay happy because Vladimir Putin has been president of this country ever since George Bush was a president of United States. Vladimir Putin has faced as much as 4 or 5 presidency of United States. ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯑꯅꯤꯃꯛꯇ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯑꯅꯤꯃꯛꯇꯒꯤꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯃꯇꯦꯡ ꯂꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯌꯦꯕꯀꯣ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯤ non alignment ꯑꯃꯨꯛꯀ further historical perspective ꯌꯥꯎꯔꯒ ꯅꯩꯅꯔꯛꯈꯤꯅꯤ session ꯑꯃꯗ next up peace with strength ꯀꯣ concept of dharma yuddha ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯅꯤ ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗ adaptability ꯂꯥꯛꯇꯣꯏꯅꯤꯀꯣ ꯌꯦꯡꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ foreign policyꯁꯦ peace ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ non alignment ꯗ deeply rooted ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯩ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯄꯤꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯋꯤꯛꯅꯦꯁ ꯂꯩꯒꯗꯕꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯋꯤꯛ ꯑꯣꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯄꯤꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯕ ꯅꯠꯇꯦꯕ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯏꯁ ꯅꯣ ꯂꯣꯡꯒꯔ ꯋꯤꯛ countries in terms of defense, economics, and many political powers. Political power is high tareko. Like the political influence of this country is like very much at par with any developed countries right now. God, and I think political powers are heavy, yeah, like, but I'm just using it for loose meaning, God, just to get you understand. Mm. ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯄꯤꯁ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯄꯤꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯀꯣ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯚꯥꯏꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯁꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯋꯤꯛꯅꯦꯁ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯎꯠꯂꯤꯁꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯔꯦꯡ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯀꯔꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇ꯭ꯔꯤ ꯃꯥꯅ ꯄꯤꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯃꯔꯨꯝꯗ ꯑꯇꯣꯞꯄ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁꯤꯡꯅ ꯍꯣꯁꯇꯥꯏꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯛꯑꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇ꯭ꯔꯤ ꯊ꯭ꯔꯦꯠ ꯂꯥꯛꯑꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯗꯖꯟ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯨꯠ ꯁꯥꯏꯂꯦꯟꯠꯂꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯨ ꯇꯨꯃꯤꯟꯅ ꯂꯩꯁꯟꯗꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁ ꯅꯦꯕꯔꯤꯡ ꯍꯣꯁꯇꯥꯏꯜ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁꯈꯩꯅ ꯍꯣꯁꯇꯤꯂꯤꯇꯤ ꯎꯠꯂꯛꯄ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯊ꯭ꯔꯦꯠꯁ ꯎꯠꯂꯛꯄ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯇꯨꯃꯤꯟꯅ ꯂꯩꯇꯦ ꯁꯥꯟꯇꯤ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯒꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯨ ꯃꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯊ꯭ꯔꯦꯠꯇꯨꯗ ꯔꯦꯁꯄꯣꯟ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯀꯣ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯗ꯭ꯔꯤꯜꯁ ꯇꯧꯒꯅꯤ ꯃꯅꯥꯛꯇ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯨꯞꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯊꯤꯟꯖꯤꯟꯒꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏ ꯇꯦꯁ ꯆꯥꯡꯌꯦꯡ ꯇꯧꯁꯤꯜꯂꯛꯀꯅꯤ everything is a signal ꯀꯣ ꯑꯩ ꯐꯖꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯛꯀꯦꯀꯣ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏ ꯇꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗꯅꯦ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏ ꯇꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏꯁꯤ ꯀꯔꯤ ꯅꯨꯃꯤꯠꯇ ꯇꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯁꯤꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯂꯧꯕ ꯃꯊꯧ ꯇꯥꯗ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯇꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟꯁ ꯑꯃ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯇꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟꯁꯦ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯂꯧꯏ ꯀꯔꯝ ꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯂꯧꯏ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯅꯦꯕꯔꯤꯡ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁꯇ ꯍꯣꯁꯇꯥꯏꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒ ꯃꯔꯤ ꯐꯠꯇꯕ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁ ꯑꯗꯨꯝ ꯂꯩ ꯆꯥꯏꯅꯥꯁꯨ ꯃꯔꯤ ꯐꯠꯇꯦ ꯗꯤꯐꯦꯟꯁꯀꯤ ꯄꯔꯁꯄꯦꯛꯇꯤꯚꯇ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤꯁꯇꯤꯀꯦꯂꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯄꯤꯀꯤꯡ ꯀꯣ ꯄꯥꯀꯤꯁꯇꯥꯟꯁꯨ ꯐꯠꯇꯦ ꯄꯥꯀꯤꯁꯇꯥꯟꯅ ꯀꯔꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯕꯣꯔꯗꯔꯗ ꯀꯣ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯗ ꯊ꯭ꯔꯦꯠ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄ ꯌꯥꯕꯒꯤ ꯐꯤꯕꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯎꯔꯕ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏ ꯇꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯕꯒꯤ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟꯁꯦ ꯅꯨꯃꯤꯠꯀꯤ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟꯁꯦ ꯈꯪꯕ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄ ꯃꯤꯀꯨꯞꯇꯨꯗ ꯂꯧꯒꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯅꯨꯃꯤꯠꯀꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯅꯤꯐꯤꯀꯦꯟꯁ ꯂꯩꯍꯜꯂꯤꯁꯦ ꯀꯩꯒꯤꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯅꯨꯃꯤꯠꯇꯨ ꯇꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯕꯁꯤꯅ ꯄꯥꯀꯤꯁꯇꯥꯟꯗ ꯀꯩ ꯁꯤꯒꯅꯦꯜ ꯄꯤꯔꯤꯅꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏ ꯑꯐꯕ ꯅꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯇꯧꯔꯤꯕ ꯖꯒꯥꯗꯨꯗ ꯌꯧꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯀꯥꯞꯄꯒ ꯂꯣꯏꯅ ꯂꯣꯏꯁꯟꯕ ꯉꯝꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯈꯨꯠꯂꯥꯏ ꯂꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯁꯦ ꯃꯇꯥꯡ ꯆꯥꯅ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯎꯠꯂꯤꯅꯦꯕ ꯗꯤꯁ itself is a signal as well as a military threat ꯅꯠꯇ꯭ꯔꯒ ꯃꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯊ꯭ꯔꯦꯠ ꯂꯥꯛꯄꯗꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯗ ꯔꯦꯁꯄꯣꯟꯁ ꯇꯧꯋꯤꯅꯦꯕ ꯏꯠꯁ ꯀꯣꯜ ꯗꯤꯇꯔꯦꯟꯁ ꯀꯣ ꯗꯤꯇꯔꯦꯟꯁ ꯅꯩꯅꯔꯛꯄ ꯌꯥꯏ ꯌꯦꯡꯁꯤꯀꯣ ꯗꯤꯇꯔꯦꯟꯁꯅꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯒꯤꯗꯤ ꯆꯥꯏꯅꯥꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯨꯞꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯥꯔꯃꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯨꯞꯁ ꯀꯣ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯨꯞꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤꯒꯤ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯨꯞꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒ ꯕꯣꯔꯗꯔ ꯅꯛꯅꯅ ꯌꯥꯅꯈ꯭ꯔꯕ ꯕꯣꯔꯗꯔꯁꯤ ꯅꯛꯅꯅ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯊꯣꯝꯖꯤꯜꯂꯛꯑꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯨ ꯑꯗꯥꯏꯋꯥꯏꯗ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯊꯣꯝꯖꯤꯜꯂꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯀꯣ ꯄꯦꯇ꯭ꯔꯣꯂꯤꯡ ꯆꯠꯄ ꯍꯦꯟꯒꯠꯂꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯩ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯗ꯭ꯔꯤꯜꯁ ꯇꯧꯈꯠꯂꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯈꯪꯕ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯗ꯭ꯔꯤꯜ ꯇꯧꯈꯠꯂꯛꯀꯅꯤꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯅꯤ ꯗꯤꯁ ꯑꯥꯔ ꯑꯣꯜ ꯁꯤꯒꯅꯦꯜꯁ ꯀꯣ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤ ꯑꯃꯗ ꯁꯤꯒꯅꯦꯜ ꯄꯤꯔꯤꯅꯤ ꯍꯣꯁꯇꯥꯏꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯀꯟꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯁꯤꯡ ꯒꯤ ꯊ꯭ꯔꯦꯠ ꯂꯥꯛꯄꯗ ꯃꯥꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯨ ꯔꯦꯁꯄꯣꯟ ꯇꯧꯋꯤꯅꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯁꯥꯟꯇꯤ ꯑꯗꯒꯤ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯚꯥꯏꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯇꯧꯋꯦ ꯀꯣ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯄꯣꯁ ꯇꯧꯋꯤꯀꯣ ꯁꯤꯁꯦ ꯑꯦꯝꯕ꯭ꯔꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯌꯦ ꯍꯥꯏ ꯇꯥꯔꯒꯁꯨ ꯀꯣ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯔꯦꯡ ꯎꯠꯇꯕ ꯌꯥꯗꯕ ꯎꯠꯀꯗꯕ ꯃꯇꯥꯡ ꯂꯥꯛꯑꯒꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯁꯣꯁ ꯏꯠꯁ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯔꯦꯡ ꯑꯦꯟ ꯏꯠꯁ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯥꯏꯗ ꯀꯣ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯀꯤ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯁꯤꯒꯅꯦꯜ ꯍꯥꯏꯈꯤꯕꯗꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯗꯁꯨ ꯁꯥꯟꯇꯤ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯚꯥꯏꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯁꯥꯟꯇꯤ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯚꯥꯏꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯑꯗꯨꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯁꯨꯅꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯗ ꯀꯟꯁꯦꯞ ꯑꯃꯒ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯙꯔꯃ ꯌꯨද්ධꯅ ꯙꯔꯃ ꯌꯨද්ධꯗꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯃꯍꯥꯚꯥꯔꯠꯀꯤ ꯃꯍꯥꯚꯥꯔꯠꯀꯤ ꯑꯆꯧꯕ ꯂꯥꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯁꯣꯛꯈꯤꯕꯗꯣ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯃꯍꯥꯚꯥꯔꯠꯀꯤ ꯂꯥꯟꯗꯨꯗ ꯙꯔꯃ ꯌꯨද්ධꯅ ꯑꯃ ꯊꯣꯛꯈꯤꯕꯗꯣ ꯙꯔꯃ ꯌꯨද්ධ ꯇꯧꯏꯗꯣ ꯀꯩꯒꯤꯅꯣ ꯖꯁꯇꯤꯁꯀꯨꯝꯕ ꯁꯣꯚꯔꯦꯟꯇꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯖꯁꯇꯤꯁꯀꯨꯝꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯇꯦꯛ ꯇꯧꯅꯕꯅꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯇꯦꯛ ꯇꯧꯅꯕꯅꯦꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯨꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤꯗ ꯀꯩꯗꯧꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯄꯤꯁ ꯚꯥꯏꯑꯣꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯁꯨ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯚꯥꯏꯑꯣꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯁꯨ ꯍꯣꯁꯇꯥꯏꯜ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯛꯄ ꯃꯉꯣꯟꯗ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯥꯛꯄ ꯃꯇꯝꯗꯗꯤ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯙꯔꯃ ꯌꯨද්ධꯒꯤ ꯀꯟꯁꯦꯞ ꯂꯩ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯨꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯏꯁ ꯅꯦꯚꯔ ꯔꯤꯂꯛꯇꯦꯟ ꯇꯨ ꯒꯣ ꯇꯨ ꯃꯤꯂꯤꯇꯔꯤꯁꯇꯤꯛ ꯀꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯦꯟꯀꯥꯎꯟꯇꯔ ꯅꯠꯇ꯭ꯔꯒꯅ encounter ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ militaristic encounter ꯅꯠꯇ꯭ꯔꯒ adventure militaristic adventure uh, to any threats giving nations ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ against any threat giving nations and also its hostile neighbors ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯛꯇꯤꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯂꯥꯛꯑꯦꯀꯣ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯗꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯉꯥꯛꯇꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯁꯦꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯑꯔꯣꯏꯕꯗ adaptability within ethical limits ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯤꯡꯗꯒꯤ derive ꯇꯧꯅꯕ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯍꯣꯠꯅꯔꯒ derive ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄ attachment ꯑꯃꯈꯛꯅꯤ I have already explained it ꯀꯣ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ explain ꯇꯧꯈ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯗꯅ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯟꯁꯤꯄꯜꯈꯩꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯒꯤꯁꯤꯅꯦꯕ ꯌꯥꯔꯦꯀꯣ ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗ ꯀꯟꯀ꯭ꯂꯨꯗ ꯇꯧꯔꯁꯦ ꯁꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯁꯦꯀꯣ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯁꯥꯡꯍꯟꯒꯨꯝꯁꯤ ꯕꯥꯁꯨꯗꯦꯕ ꯀꯨꯇꯨꯝꯕꯀꯝ ꯄꯥꯟꯁꯤꯜ ꯒꯥꯟꯙꯤꯌꯟ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯚꯥꯏꯑꯣꯂꯦꯟꯁ ꯅꯣꯟ ꯑꯂꯥꯏꯟꯃꯦꯟ ꯙꯔꯃꯌꯨꯗ ꯀꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯁꯤꯅ ꯏꯟꯁꯄꯥꯌꯔ ꯇꯧꯔꯒ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯟ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤ ꯁꯦꯝꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗ ꯀꯣꯔ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯤꯟꯁꯤꯄꯜꯁ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛ ꯌꯥꯎꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯤꯗꯤ ꯁꯦꯁꯟ ꯁꯤꯗꯩꯁꯤꯗ ꯂꯣꯏꯁꯤꯜꯂꯁꯤꯀꯣ